Hello gorgeous ones, Dr. Lucy here. It's just after 5. I'll just wait for a few of you gorgeous ones to pop on. And tonight I am cooking Moroccan beef. Now, one of the things that I love about cooking, as you know, well in fact not a lot because I don't actually love cooking, but I do love eating whole food. Whole food is super important and it's really the cornerstone of my philosophy around food and certainly my philosophy around weight loss. So, oh, somebody's on. Hello, Rachel. How are you, darling? Hi, Jane. So, I'll just wait for a couple more to get on, but basically, I'm cooking Moroccan beef. You know, normally I don't do a single scrap of food prep beforehand, but I am going to tell you a little secret today. So, this is my beef. It's already chopped. Now, this is oyster blade steak. Cheap as chips. You can buy it anywhere. I happen to have got mine, as I said, from our cow. Got it out of the freezer, maybe about 2 o'clock. As soon as I got home from work, I got it out of the freezer and I actually plunged it into some warm water. But then this trick I've learnt is, it's called velveting. I don't know if anyone's heard of this, but anyway, I thought I'm going to give it a crack. What it is you just stir through some bicarb of soda into the beef to give it this velvety texture. I don't know. If I'm someone, you know, it was in the Skinny Mixer site, so I thought, right, I'm going to give it a crack. So I have actually chopped it, and then I've stirred through a little bit of bicarb of soda, and that basically is hopefully going to make a beautiful tender beef without having to either fling it in the pressure cooker or think about it this morning and put it in the slow cooker. So this one, now, I know, I do occasionally cook without mingle, but not very often. This one is a Moroccan spice blend, and the reason I'm using this tonight is it's FODMAPs friendly. So I know a lot of you with gut issues have trouble with garlic and onion, and a lot of spice mixes have garlic and onion, not this one. So this afternoon, I'm not doing my world famous cheats onion version of frozen onion thing. I'm basically just going to use a bit of this. So I'll get started, will I? As you know, I've got my little portable induction cooktop, which, seriously, I've never cooked with induction before. It's so bloody fast, I can't believe it. So basically I just get a swig of olive oil, whack that in, and you'll remember, my cooking, I'm not a cook, okay? I don't like to cook. I cook quick, I cook good, I cook tasty, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. So this dinner will be ready, well, it'll be ready in half an hour. So, and what I've done, because you know I also hate food waste, I've gone into my into the fridge and had a look what is hanging around the bottom of my crisper. So hanging around the bottom of this crisper was this old eggplant. Now, you know my recipe. Build a plate, you get your protein. I've got 1 kilo of diced, well chopped blade steak, really roughly chopped again, not a stirred it through with that little bit of bicarb to make it tender. I've then found at the bottom 2 veggies. I've got eggplant and I've got some green beans. And the reason that I'm using this is that, well, first of all, that was all that was left at the bottom, but also eggplant goes pretty well with Moroccan. And from time to time, I love, looking at the colors of vegetables. So there's not many purple vegetables, so you get your purple from your eggplant. You'll get purple from blackberries, which I know, they're not a vegetable, I'm onto that, but they do taste pretty delicious, although not in a Moroccan beef. Listen to my chopping board, can you hear it? It's this beautiful little chopping board it was a wedding present for us, so it's about 25 years old, and it's split, so maybe I might need to invest in another one. Now I'm sure there are chefs here who are probably turning in their grave about the way I chop vegetables, but you know what, it's what I do, it suits me, they're usually quick, I don't chop any fingers off, it's rough and ready, and you know what, that's fine. So remember, the principles that I adhere to, just about everything I cook is low carb, real food. Now I know that most of you who are watching me will go, okay, well we're onto that, because why do we do this? I know, I bang on about it all the time. But we want to keep our insulin low because there is a whole pile of us in our universe with insulin resistance, including Mary and I. Now, unfortunately, I actually can't see the writing. It's going so fast. And today, of all the days, I didn't set up my, sometimes I have my other screen so I can see. So I'm just having a look here. Somebody's talking about roasted onion. It sounds wonderful. So into my pan, I'll bring my pan a bit closer. I've just chucked in that 1 kilos, 1 kilo of the Moroccan beef. And I'm going to put through it this mingle. So it comes in a shaker one, this one. Now, one of the things about mingle that you need to know about is because there's no fillers and no emulsifiers and no anti-caking agents, it will sometimes form together like a lump. There's a really, really good trick for this. Bang it on the table, bang, problem solved. And then I'm going to whack in a decent amount, because if you use the sachets of stuff, it's about 30 grams. Now this whole thing is 120 grams, so I reckon I'm going to whack in probably a quarter of it. And I'm telling you, bloody hell, it smells good. What's in it? So it's got cumin, ginger, paprika, allspice, cinnamon, parsley, coriander, black pepper, more paprika. It's got sweet and smoked, some clove and a bit of salt. Now, this is my little trick for young players, right? You know, again, we talk a lot about bone broth, and I do love it. I love it in winter. I love it for a lot of its health benefits. Lots of collagen. You know, why would you be taking collagen powder when you can have bone broth? Well, part of the reason is that sometimes bone broth's not that convenient. Sometimes you haven't made it. Sometimes you've got to lug around to warm something or other. This little company called Broth of Life, sorry, I can't get it to look. Try and get it past the light. There you go. Broth of Life is an Australian company run by a beautiful woman called Alison, and she has a giant kitchen on her property, and they make the broth from scratch. So they make it with the vegetables and the bones, organic beef bones, and then all they do is dehydrate it to put it into a little jar so you can carry it around. And basically you have your cup of bone broth like you would your cup of Nescafe, which I don't drink. But one of the tricks, I'm just stirring this little thing while we're chatting, is you can, to make a beautiful rich sauce, you can put in a bit of this stuff. So again, no anti-caking agent, so it might look a bit stuck together. I'm just trying to get it again out of the light. But basically, can you see that? It's just sort of like powdered goop, but it's not fake. It's just dehydrated bone broth. So I don't know, I'm just going to put in a swig, maybe that much, fair swig, but you know, I'm happy with that. And then basically, I'm turning up my thingy because it's taking a little while to cook this stuff. I'm just browning this beef, making sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of my slightly old pan. Good. Oh my God, if only I had smell-o-vision. It really does smell super. And you'll be pleased to know all cats are out of the kitchen. One may make a guest appearance sort of over there at the window, or every now and then over there at the door. And we call one of our cats, whose name is Shadow, but somehow we call her Little because she's the smallest. She's also a spider cat, and she frequently just flings up onto the back door like Spider-Man. Anyway, that's looking pretty brown. So then, you know my cat's, what do you call this stuff? Eggplant that I just chopped. Again, rough as ready. I just fling that in. I put that in quite early because the eggplant does take a little while to reduce down. Now, who has kids like me? I just went to the fridge today and I found 42, well not quite, but 3 bottles of passata. And I thought, right, this is ridiculous. So I'm just going to use them all up. So again, I've no idea, there's just a little bit of fling a bit in, fling a bit of the next one in, and fling a bit of the last one in. And if there's not enough, I've actually, feeling so organised, got myself a fresh jar. Can you imagine how much real estate they were taking up in my fridge? Now the passata I do just use this brand. It's called Valverde. Again, I'll be back to front for you guys. I get it at Coles and it's got nothing else in it, just basically mushed up tomatoes. People often go, tomatoes low carb. Look, honestly, If we're looking at the difference between a tomato and a Mars bar, sure, they are low carb. If you were wanting to do a strict ketogenic diet because you've got epilepsy and you need to make lots of ketones, then they're probably not. But in the true meaning of my life, I am really moving into that mindset that we call balance. In the past, I've always been an all or nothing. I'm doing it perfectly or I'm bloody on a bender, eating everything in sight. I'm just putting the lid on for that to have a little simmer because that eggplant, I didn't see it, I didn't salt it or anything. I don't bother, just shove it in. And then while I'm chatting to you guys, I'm just going to chop these little beans. So you don't, nothing has to be perfect. But God, how long I'm 52. It took me till I was about 49 to work that out. And I was either eating perfectly, rigid, oh no, I can't have that extra little bit of something because that'll ruin my last 19 weeks of eating perfectly. Or I was like, diet? What diet? Give me everything I can find. So my life was really diet or bender. And so, oh God, it's exhausting. It is exhausting. And I would see people from time to time, and if they had seen me in between, like if they saw me on a bender, then I would go, I'm back. So again, these are just a bunch of green beans. I'm just picking out the stalks because, you know, as much as I don't mind rough and ready, I still don't want to eat green stalks in my thing. So being this all or nothing, it's a really part of, people will come in and say to me, Lucy, I'm all or nothing. I'm either on a diet or I'm not on a diet. And it's really about trying to change that because being on a diet is actually terrible. It doesn't help, doesn't work, and 95% of diets fail in 2 years' time. So the majority of people who do a diet, so I talk about a low carb lifestyle. It's not really a diet, only in so much that we might refer to a vegetarian diet. Now, this is what I want to talk to you about, guys, right? So I was reading a thing on somebody telling, you know, they have those stories on, the 10 worst diets in the world, and the ketogenic diet was at the top of it, and the 10 best diets in the world. Well, interestingly, this author, and look, I can't remember who she was, so she's probably no one of super significance. But her thing was ketogenic diet, terrible, full of saturated fat, and restrictive. Restrictive. Interesting. The top diet is the Mediterranean diet. And again, you could argue that a well-formulated, low-carbohydrate diet is pretty much on par with the Mediterranean diet because I eat vegetables, I eat fish, I eat I eat nuts, I eat olive oil, I eat olives, I bloody love them. I eat dairy, I don't eat grains, and, I feel no need to eat a potato. So that's all good. Anyway, what she was banging on about was how restrictive the ketogenic diet was. But her second top diet was the vegan diet. Now, again, I'm not anti-vegan. If people want to do vegan, it's that thing I do, that live and let live. That's fine. But how can you have those two? Can you see the dichotomy that somehow a vegan diet, that's not restrictive. But that's my stop it. That's my coffee machine. It's like it's just decided to wake up and do something. I'll turn it off. That's better. So yeah, it's always really interesting to look at people's point of views and see that an article saying low carb diet's restrictive, vegan diet's not restrictive. I can tell you the vegan diet's highly restrictive. Highly restrictive where you can't have any animal-based protein. So no egg, no cheese, no dairy, and therefore the reliance is much more on processed vegetable proteins. Not everybody. There are plenty of people out there doing, again, what I would call a well-formulated plant-based diet where they're really using whole foods. But many people who are doing a vegan diet are just using fake meats. And honestly, the thing about, you can be on a plant-based diet and you could have white bread with Nuttalex and hundreds and thousands. That's not going to be good for you. You can be on a ketogenic diet and be eating perhaps, 10 tons of Twiggy sticks a day. That's not going to be good for you either. You can do a well-formulated, whole food way of eating, and that's really the key. Oh, is see what's happening under the lid here. Oh my God, it's boiling away. So you've probably got some steam going on there. Oh, fantastic. Oh my God, this is looking brilliant. Sometimes I surprise myself with my absolute genius. Right, so now, again, what I'll do, I just bring in these beans. Again, you could put whatever you like in. I just happen to like, well, again, as I said, I had what was at the bottom of the cupboard. But basically, our formula, our recipe, build a plate. You pick your protein. If your protein is very lean, you will need some fat. This protein is actually quite lean. While it was oyster blade steak, they had trimmed the fat off, and so there was just some sinews, which I'm hoping this bicarb thing will sort. And the rest of it is really not very high in fat. So my fat that I'm going to add to this at the end, how beautiful is this? Good old sour cream. So I will be adding some sour cream, and I will be adding some nuts. Now I would normally add macadamias. Somebody in my house ate them all and it wasn't me. So I've fossicked around and I've found some cashews. Now cashews are not particularly low carb, I understand that, but I'm not adding a kilo of cashews, I'm adding a handful. So there are things sometimes where people will go, is that food keto? It's one of my funny things. Is it keto? Well, again, often it's the quantities that make a difference. If you know, cauliflower, everyone knows the world famous cauliflower, which has just had the most incredible revolution in its identity. Whoever is spinning that vegetable has done a wonderful job. But if you eat 2 cauliflowers, well, that's a bloody load of carbs, and you're probably not going to be low carb. If you eat 3 cashews, well, you're still low carb. So there is this sort of balance. I know we like rigid rules, but sometimes balance and learning to trust yourself is what it's all about. So one of the things we often talk about at Real Life Medicine is balance. And it is this concept, you know, this was me, perfectly on a diet or on a bender, which just led me to that whole yo-yo way of life, or now I have balance. So my diet's not always perfect, you know, sometimes I'll have some cashews, sometimes I might even have a carrot. That's okay, because what I do is I do these micro corrections. So I'm pretty in tune with my body these days. In the past, my mind basically ruled the roost. My mind got to decide what we were doing. Were we on a diet? Were we on a bender? Was I eating 2 blocks of chocolate a day, or was I being very pious? And again, it was always this, I felt so virtuous when I was eating well. So people will hear me when they come in and they go, I've been really good. I'm really mindful of that word because it creates this feeling of virtue. And really, are you being virtuous just for eating well? You're not really. That's not virtuous. You're looking after your body. It's what we should all be doing. Looking after our body with real food in the way that we can. I'm just getting out a tea towel because last time I went to get the lid off, I just about burnt my hand off. So I'm just having a little check again, bubbling away here. God, it really does look good. I'll take it off the heat and show you guys in a minute. The saucy stuff, just the right amount from, you know, those 3 mouldy old bits of jars that were in the cupboard, not the cupboard, in the fridge. But really the idea of learning balance, and the interesting thing, right, is that we rely on external things to tell us what to do. We rely on maybe a meal plan to tell us what to eat. You know, I certainly did Weight Watchers, a lifetime member of Weight Watchers. Do you know how I lost my weight? I was talking to somebody about this today. Eating that rubbish chocolate chemical mousse. And seriously, it's like eating fresh air. You would eat it, it did nothing for satisfying. It just made my cravings worse, and then I just had to white knuckle it because I'd finished my points. It was so punitive. Whereas now I have a lot more peace around my mind because I'm not craving stuff all the time. I'm not trying to trick nature, if you like. The food I eat is so tasty and so filling and so satisfying that I now have this kind of just general, I guess, peace, that would be a good word. I'm having a little look. I've got a spoon. I'm just going to do a little taste before I fling my sour cream through it. The only thing I often add is some salt. Again, on a low carb lifestyle, you often wee out all your salt. It's a kind of a funny thing. Insulin, and if you've been listening to me this morning, insulin's my thing at the moment. Insulin causes salt retention. So insulin is part of the driver of hypertension. If you've got salt, so if you keep your insulin nice and low, then your salt, you've weeded it all out, and so you're allowed to have some. I mean, how good's that? Yay. Because food with salt is so flavorful. Ooh, that is good. That's really good. Great. I don't need to do anything to that, but I've realised. Oh, good. I'm back. I was gone and now I'm back. Excellent. I was just about to schlep around and do some sort of magic with the buttons, but here I am. So basically I've just had a little taste, and then I've just gone and got a fresh spoon because I'm going to stir some of this really beautiful sour cream through it, which I just think it's reasonably spicy, this dish. Now, you know, people go, how much cream? I don't know, three big blobs. And then I'll stir and have a look. You are allowed to make stuff up as you go. It's actually liberating because, yeah, you know, you just go, right, well, it doesn't matter if I don't have some sour cream. If I didn't have sour cream, what could I use instead? If I had yogurt, I would put some yogurt through it. Not quite as much fat in it as sour cream. I don't need to have lots of fat in it, but I like the taste of it. It keeps me full, and I'm a faster, which means I like to fast. Fasting for me is like another little block from the thing. How many nuts I don't know, I just grabbed a couple of handfuls. Now I'm just going to check this. This is good. So this is my finished product now. What's that? 25 minutes. And it's a bit heavy for me to lift with my bloody rubbish muscles. Can you see that? Oh, can you see that as she tips it all over the bench? It's quite full. It is magnificent. The smells coming out of that is good. It's got protein, it's got some flavour, it's got 2 veggies plus the passata, so you can count that as 3 veggies in it. Covers all the bases, and really, I know what I'm going to tell you. Whether my magical, what do you call that, velveting technique. So remember, this is oyster blade, which can taste really tough and rubbery. Magnificent. Good. Not at all rubbery, not at all that old boil boot. Right, my lovers? So, again, this is not an expensive dish. The steak was pretty cheap. I've used leftover old things, so I just resurrected some stuff. The most expensive thing in here, I don't know, maybe some mingle. But again, I actually didn't use a quarter. I thought I would use a quarter. I haven't. I've used probably about a fifth. So that'll last for a whole lot longer. So I don't know how much this would cost. Maybe less than $10. I don't know how many carbs are in it. Honestly, hardly any. Enough that I will satisfy my brain, satisfy my body, and you know, you can cook really quickly, really cheaply, and doesn't have to be complicated. So the summary, go forth and do awesome things. You are all wonderful, and don't be hoodwinked by marketing that tells us we're too busy to cook. We're not too busy to cook. We need a tiny bit of organisation, but you are allowed to just fling stuff in, and what will come out is something amazing. All right, my lovelies, see you next Tuesday, 5 o'clock. I'll try and have I'm still getting, you know, the tech side of things sorted out. I don't know why the live froze a couple of times, but it just did. And I'll have my little, what do you call that thing? Like my iPad or my computer to see if I can see your comments, because my camera is too far away and my eyes are not that big. Bye, sweets. See you.